Welcome to SkylarTools. This is an instructional video of how to true a BMW 1200 GS spoke wheel, using the TruSpoke tool. However, this truing process can be applied to any spoke wheel. Before starting to true a wheel, there are a few preparation steps. With a number 2 Allen wrench, unscrew the locking set screw. In the event of a stuck locking set screw, the TruSpoke's T40 Torx bit can be used to unlock it. To speed things up, electric or pneumatic screwdrivers can be used. To simplify the process, the nipples are defined as inner and outer nipples as shown in the slide. It is important to be consistent throughout the truing process. The TruSpoke concept is to measure the displacement between the tip of the spoke and the tip of the nipple. In other words, it measures how far the nipple has been threaded onto the spoke. Notice that as the spoke is threaded into the nipple, the TruSpoke displayed number increases. And as the spoke is unthreaded, the displayed number decreases. An easy way to approximate the final displacement of the spokes is by averaging the measured displacement of all the spokes before loosening the nipples. To calculate the average displacement, for example, simply sum up the measured displacement of the outer nipples from both sides of the hub and divide by the number of the total nipples, in this case divide by 20. For this specific BMW wheel, the TruSpoke final displacement average measurement was approximately 12 to 13 mm and 13 to 14 mm for the outer and inner nipples respectively. If a wheel is being assembled from scratch and a final displacement reference cannot be measured, complete the hand tightening step first, and then take the spoke's displacement measurement. Calculate the average displacement as shown in the video and set that value as an initial starting point for the truing process. Follow the next steps after that. Now that all the locking set screws are out and final displacement has been determined, it is time to loosen all the nipples using any type of standard wrench with the attachment of the T40 Torx bit. Electric or pneumatic wrenches are welcome to speed up the process. It is highly recommended to clean the spokes and nipples threads of any dirt or debris to ensure a more accurate torque spec. The truing process begins with a light hand tightening of the outer nipples on both sides of the hub. Once that's done, go ahead and lightly hand tighten the inner nipples on both sides of the hub in the exact same way. The next step is setting up the displacement starting point using the TruSpoke tool. Since the measured final displacement for the outer spokes is approximately 12 to 13 millimeters, in order to have enough range for adjustment, the initial displacement for the outer spokes on each side of the hub is set to 11.5 millimeters. TruSpoke is a sensitive indicator tool, so if the reading goes beyond the targeted displacement, for example 11.5 millimeters, just back up and come into 11.5 millimeters again. As the truing steps are being progressed, some spokes might reach the final torque sooner while others might reach the final torque setting at a later stage. The reason is because the surfaces of the rim or the hub in which the spokes or the nipples are resting in might be worn out a bit and be uneven. In addition, the spokes and the nipples might not be manufactured exactly with the same properties. Next, the measured final displacement for the inner spokes is approximately 13 to 14 millimeters. In order to have enough range for adjustment, the initial displacement for the inner spokes on each side of the hub is set to 12 millimeters. Keep in mind, other wheels might have a different displacement measurements and settings, and not the same as for this specific wheel. The second displacement setting for the outer spokes is set to 12 mm, an increment of 0.5 mm. Smaller increments can be used and are up to the decision of the user. To ensure the truing process is done correctly, it is important to be consistent throughout, and that each spoke is adjusted equally in every step. With a similar increment of 0.5 mm, the second displacement setting for the inner spokes is set to 12.5 mm. Per BMW Motorrad's manual, the wheel should be mounted on a wheel balancer. Two gauges need to be set up in the lateral and vertical to check the runouts, which should be lower than 1.7 mm while maintaining a maximum final torque of 4 Nm on every spoke. To test the initial runout after the second displacement measurement, for comparison purposes, the wheel is mounted on a BMW motorcycle final drive and on a wheel balancer with lateral and vertical gauges set up as shown. On the final drive, the maximum runout in the lateral is less than 0.7 mm and the vertical less than 0.9 mm. On the wheel balancer, the maximum runout in the lateral is less than 1 mm and the vertical less than 0.7 mm. In case the runout is over 1.7 mm, each spoke can be adjusted easily using the TruSpoke tool to lower it. Since the runout is under 1.7 mm in both the lateral and vertical directions, as long as the next displacements are equal throughout all the spokes, the length ratio between the spokes would stay the same and therefore, the runout should be maintained under 1.7 mm as well. The final displacement setting for the outer spokes is set to 12.5 mm, as previously determined from early measurements. Please note, during the final displacement step, the torque wrench should be no more than 4 Nm. Similarly, the final displacement setting for the inner spokes is set to 13 mm, as previously determined from early measurements. On the final runout check, the maximum runout in the lateral is less than 0.7 mm and the vertical less than 0.9 mm when the wheel is mounted on the final drive. Comparing to the wheel balancer, the maximum runout in the lateral is less than 0.9 mm and the vertical less than 1 mm. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or would like to purchase the TruSpoke tool, please visit our website. We look forward to hearing from you.